my name is Cristal. I'm here to welcome our 3 interns to show us their presentations. They've been here with us for 10 weeks this summer, and today we're going to hear what they learned and the recommendations to improve our process here at AC. This program is actually very dear to me. It's really important to me because I was an intern last year, and now I work at Construction Services. I'm part of the virtual design team, and I'm just hoping that they also got the same experience that I got, that I really treasure. And first, we're gonna start off with Victoria Bunty.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. My name is Victoria von Flue, and I've had the privilege of working with the accounting department this summer at AC Electric Company. I'm currently going into my senior year at Mercy College in Dobbs Ferry, New York, and I'm studying public accounting with a minor in the Spanish language. Miss Jennifer Blackwood, would you please read this quote for me?
What got you here won't get you there.
What got you here won't get you there. I think that all of the interns this summer would agree that this is the official theme of the internship. It really applies to all facets that we've looked at this summer. It applies to AC Electric Company as a business, as an entity. It applies to us in our intern lives, as all of us are kind of at this turning point or this fork in the road of where we're going next. And especially it applies to me as I enter my senior year of college and start looking at the real world. Looking at what it means to AC. In 2019, we had $85 million in revenue. We're working out of 4 divisions, Bakersfield, Ontario, Fresno, and Visalia. And we currently, as of yesterday, have 316 open jobs that we're working on. That's where we are in the here. But as we go there, just in the next year, we're projected to reach $120 million in revenue. That's huge, a huge growth in a single year. We have a 5th division set and in plans to reach out to Northern California, to reach out to Sacramento. And we're looking at the possibility of a merger or an acquisition in the next 5 years. Huge growth and new opportunity for AC. So when we look at how we got to 2019 and how we got to here, I think it really is important to look back at AC's core values that they hold true in every aspect of their company. They value safety, integrity, quality, professionalism, knowledge, service, family, and community, and I've seen all of those shine through in every aspect and every position that I've worked with this summer. Some of the ones that really stick out to me are family and community. And family is really important to me, and I've mentioned this a lot to the people that I've worked with this summer. Seeing New York City life and seeing New York City business, really going through school, I was taught that it was rigorous, and it was hard, and it was competitive, and it was fast. And working here at AC, I've seen the balance that people really can have their work life, and they can have a successful home life, as well as that pursuing career life that is so successful. And for community, I have a special story that I'd like to share. Just a show of hands, how many of you are familiar with the Hunger Games? Excellent. That's going to make my point a lot easier right here.
Here comes the techies of District 17, unified and ready to light up the light. They are rallying behind their troops to welcome the victory. In the darkness, there shine brighter than any other district, and are eager to rise to the occasion to help prepare the Guerrilla Registry among the infantry. Guerrilla 17 is quite electrifying. Warriors today, warriors tomorrow, brothers forever. Figure Black, 2,000.
my junior year of high school, I was actually the junior class president. And come homecoming time, we decided we were going to do the Hunger Games. So each class chose a different district. The juniors were electricity, so we called our friends at AC Electric. And Mr. Tim Bachman came out, and I said, I want lights everywhere. And little did I know what an integral part he played at AC and how hard he was working all day long for him to come out 5 to 9 for a whole week and put together my homecoming float for me. But it was excellent, and it let me work with my peers on that crazy dance we did. So I really see AC Electric on both sides now. I've seen them from the staff side, how much they care about the community, and I've also felt that on the other side of the project. And on top of all of that, everyone at AC really shows the desire to want to do these things. Not only was Mr. Bachman there, but he was there and he seemed at least excited to help a bunch of 16-year-olds put together a homecoming float. So I've really seen how the core values of AC work with the community, work with the people around them, and work inside the company to get things done. And I think it's not only what brought AC to where it is today, but it's what brought everyone in this room to work at AC, that these values hold true. So now my fellow interns, I think we can agree that what got us here, what got us to the start of our internship program, definitely wouldn't have gotten us here. We've worked on so much and we've learned so much through different levels of activities. And I think that our skills and our repertoire of knowledge on not only the core values and how they can affect us in our daily life, but our hard skills as well that we've got to put in place outside of the classroom have just grown immensely in these past 10 weeks. And then, me personally, as I mentioned, I'm entering my senior year of college. This is me on my first day of college 2 years ago. Had bangs, probably the worst decision of my entire life. But I'm excited to be moving forward now, and going there, I'm not sure exactly what that will bring me yet, but I'm a lot more sure after working with AC and working with people who are doing the job that I'm studying for, a lot more sure going forward. I think it's going to start with a J, it's like a job, something like that. That's what my dad says anyways. So what we've worked on while here. We have sharpened our saw. If you're familiar with Covey's The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, we've done a book club, and sharpening your saw really means to work on every aspect of yourself, to better your physical well-being, to better your mental well-being, and to keep getting better at what you're doing every single day. And we've been provided opportunities to do that here through this internship by working through our book club. We read 7 Habits of Highly Effective People in the 2-second Lien. We were offered a chance to converse with our peers and bounce back ideas at really a nice dinner setting at the Alexander's house. We had CPR training, which is applicable almost anywhere. And we've done mock interviews and career coaching, including the personal index and the learning index curves to help learn a little bit more about ourselves. We've thought win-win. Some of the projects that I've worked on, they helped me get more familiar with the accounting world, but they've also were helping the accounting department rather than me just asking questions. They were helping other people get through their day a little bit easier as well, and I appreciated that. So we worked through department organization, which Julie was looking at organizing, and I got to work with her through that. I organized intern procedures, so hopefully an intern next summer will benefit off of those. And I did some research on sales and use tax. We did executive lunches, which were beneficial for meeting our colleagues, but also eating yummy lunches. And then being proactive. Being proactive means to be on top of your game and not having to respond off of what's happening in your environment, but instead being prepared and being ready, being ahead of the curve. And so some of my tasks were more daily tasks that I knew I had to do every day, and I could prepare the day before to do them. I was posting accounts receivable, almost all the income that was coming through AC Electric. I got to check it off, make sure it set through the appropriate invoice and post it to our ledger. I was working with accounts payable. Actually, Brandy Gibson was out for a week, and so I actually got to sit in on her job, which was really intense, but really cool. I'm reconciling the general ledger from time to time to make sure that we were always tying, which is super important in accounting. And one thing that we had to be super proactive on were our lien releases. And the reason that we had to be so proactive on these was probably more of an issue than a skill. So my lien proposal for for all of you today is called Leaning the Liens, which is basically a godsend. I don't know why I didn't think of that since day one. But we read the book 2 Second Lien, which basically talks about eliminating waste from your life. It talks about getting out all the unnecessary steps that may be causing the 8 deadly sins of waste, and really functioning down the process to what is necessary and what's required to get the job done. And then a lien release, or a lien waiver, is protecting AC and protecting AC's partners in the event that an invoice or a bill does not get paid. It gives us the right to lien the property, or basically take over the property until that bill is paid. So the current process looks like this. It's done currently by Joshua Benjamin, and he takes about 2 full days to get through all this, and that's if the other side of the relationship is responding appropriately. But as you can see in number 7, sometimes the vendor on the other side doesn't always respond in the same time frame, so this can really get extended and reached out over long periods of time. So we're going to research and see if there's any outstanding invoices. We're going to then total all of the invoices. From there, we're going to fill out the appropriate contractor waiver, and then we're going to send the release to the vendor. Once they approve it and confirm that that's the amount it's supposed to be done for, they'll sign it back, but sometimes that process can take a long time. And then from there, we're going to scan the release into Spectrum, which was part of my job this summer. We're going to update the supplier release log throughout this entire process, which is what Josh does to keep us organized. And then the release will get emailed to the PA on the job, who will then send it out to the customer to confirm that everything is in place. Some caveats on this: the process goes both ways. Not only are we talking to other vendors on this, but we're also confirming that AC is covered. It starts over every month. The contracts are monthly. In some cases, multiple releases may need to be acquired depending on if there was an outstanding bill from the month before. And some companies have special waivers, so it's not like we can just hit this in the same tab. So this is what the current supplier release log looks like. You can see in all the columns where Joshua has to date and sign what he's done and what he's checked off, and you can see in just one single job how many different vendors he's working with and has to apply release forms for. Now, if you'll notice this tab at the bottom, there's actually 46 open jobs just in our release tab. So it does take him about 2 full days to get all of this done. So this process can definitely be leaned out, as it's using at least 5 of the 8 deadly sins of waste. It's waiting time, waiting for the supplier to get back. It's motion, entering all these different steps. It's over processing, going back and forth between the Excel sheets and the different processes. It's the rework of defects, because Josh is a human. He might send the wrong contract out. He might have the wrong amount, which will then have to be corrected. And it's unused employee potential with those 2 days that Josh could be doing something else. So I had the job of scanning the releases into Spectrum, and I already came up with my own 2-second lien of how we can make this process a little bit shorter. So here in the drawer, I'm just going to select that this is a release. In the name, I'm going to put who the contract is through, who the contract is with. And then in the keywords, there are 4 different types of releases. So I would either type out every single time, this is conditional through the date, this is unconditional through the date, this is a conditional final, or this is an unconditional final. And those are really the only 4 options that can go in this box. And so about 2 weeks into the summer, I noticed that this could be leaned out to more of a tab. It still makes perfect sense. Josh and I agreed that the red really displays the same meaning as what was in the white, but when I'm scanning 60 or so releases a day, it really can save a little bit of time. But I think it can go a step further, and if you'll look back to the original supplier release log, you'll see in this release type column that Josh has a code that he knows to himself. That 1 is an unconditional release through, 2 is a conditional release through, and so on and so on. And we were hesitant to switch completely to the 1, 2, 3, 4 going into the keywords box, because other people don't know that code the way Josh does. However, I think that in a few months worth of sending out these releases, people really would get the hang of it, write it down on their desk and use a sticky note for a few months, and it would make that part of the process that much easier. So that's something that I've already done and already implemented to speed up our release process a little bit. But going forward, I think that there is a way to cut it out altogether, really. We could come up with an Excel query. I've learned that actually Excel has a shortcut to send emails out from Excel itself. And so with working with the dev team, we could probably create a query that would fill out the contracts for us, saying that the box with F6, which is the date it's going to be through, is going to be posted over to the contract date or the contract, and then automate the shortcut for the email sending. The pros to this, it's the least disruptive to the current system, the way things operate now, and it's free. Nothing's free, but it's not buying a new system. It's only taking the time of the dev team. So it is minimal help. It's only cutting out a few steps. She's laughing. And it does occupy the dev team. See, I brought it back for you. For option number 2, there are actually systems that will take care of the entire lien process for you. They'll track it. They'll keep track of the value amount that needs to be sent in the following release. It keeps track of when they come back signed, so that they can be sent to the PA then that will send it to the customer. And it does a lot for you. This would almost cut out the entire system that I showed you, all those 13 steps. Cuts out almost all of them for you. Oh, and it automatically sends payment once you agree, once you look at the contract, once you sign it off, it would send the payment for you. So it cuts out that step as well. So step 1 would be to buy this bolt-on that would track the releases for us, and step 2 would be to apply it to our system. The pro is work reduction, and while it's only 1 point, I put this in bold because it's a lot of work reduction. I really think that this would save almost the entire 2 days for what Josh is doing now. And I think that out of the 3 options presented, that this would be the least work for the dev team. The cons is that Spectrum version 14 is required. Right now, the accounting system and AC as a whole is running on version 13 of Spectrum, so that's an upgrade that we're considering making, but it hasn't been done yet, so it couldn't be immediate implementation. And Lien version option number 13 would be to go to a whole new system altogether, a whole new ERP that would take care of liens for us. So Vista, while it doesn't do a lot of other things that Spectrum does currently now, it does take care of liens. Noted by the quote on their website that says that they change orders and lien releases are efficiently tracked. And so the pro here would be work reduction, and we would have an updated ERP. However, that does involve reworking a lot of other factors that Spectrum currently works for us, like equipment and a couple other things that are just crucial to AC at this point. So that's the missing features, and then everyone who uses Spectrum would need to be retrained on how to use Vista. So now it's kind of like, let's make a deal, and AC would choose a door at this point. But the door that I would be chanting from the audience to choose would be to buy the bolt-on system, to add to the current Spectrum that we're using, or the updated version. I think this would cause the least confusion for the company or the entity as a whole, and take care of the problem and the system that we're currently facing. And then for me, as I look at doors, what I've learned this summer is that careers aren't as straightforward as I thought, and that going forward, I'm looking at more school and going to get my CPA, but that there are also offers outside of that, and that there's a door for law school, that there's a door for an MBA, that there's a door for finishing my CPA and going straight to work at that. And so I'm continuing to weigh my options of doors as well. So I want to thank you for a great summer. Thank you for an opportunity to learn so much. And that'll be it for me.
Nicely done. Any questions? Tell us about the job tour you did yesterday. What did you learn?
I learned a lot. It was interesting to see what jobs actually look like in person. When you're entering all the different phases into an accounting system, you kind of get one image in your head, but when you actually walk it, it means a totally new thing. Walking around the building and understanding how big it was, how many people it's going to employ, how many people it's going to feed, it really all just sinks in and hits a different way. And so I noticed that, but it was also refreshing to see the guys out in the field so concerned about the numbers. because that's such a big concern to us, obviously, in accounting, but you never think about how much other people are thinking about it too.
What was your favorite part of kind of getting into the nuts and bolts of accounting beyond just what you've seen in books?
My favorite part was just getting my hands dirty. I don't want to say I was happy when Brandy was gone, but I was happy to be able to sit in her seat and to be able to try to do her job all week long. I definitely wasn't able to do it up to her standards, and I had invoices shooting back in my box all week. They're like, "You're doing this wrong." I was like, "Okay, I'm trying though." So, but that was my favorite part, was to be able to work a day in the life, a week in the life, and experience it.
Victoria, was this your first internship?
I interned for Congressman McCarthy last summer,
That's right.
but very different internship.
Sure.
A lot more hands-on.
You opened by going through a lot of AC's values. As you've evaluated that and doing this presentation, is there one that you look at up there that you say, that shouldn't be up there? Or is there one that you think should be up there that's not?
I think family is multifaceted in a way that doesn't necessarily come across as first. I think that not only does it mean, as Rusty emphasized during our lunch, not only does it mean having your work life straight so that you can have your family life straight at home, but it also means having a family here at work and having people who are going to have your back, that are okay when you mess up, and that are going to cover for you and make sure that you get it right the next time. And that's something that I haven't seen before in a business, not so cutthroat, but really there to push the mission of the company along.
Great, thank you.
Yes.
I'll keep going, I always got it. Your view of accounting change?
A little bit. Sounds silly, but I didn't know it was so much computer work. But I'm really glad I got to shadow Julie and see a lot of her position as well, because what I really found that I like is working with other people to come up with solutions, and solutions for the numbers. I think that's why I chose accounting, was I do like the numbers, but I also like working with other people and looking forward for the company, which isn't as much accounting as I thought.
Tell us about some of the meetings you attended and the departments that you were able to engage with.
Departments I was most engaged with, will you clarify?
So did you go to any project ownership meetings or?
Okay. I went to an OpEx meeting talking about leaning out some of the systems and putting in procedures so that AC can continue to grow. As we get bigger, we want to have kinks in the road figured out. So I really enjoyed that. I attended a projections meeting, which was a lot of details. I attended collections meetings, which were really interesting. I heard a lot about those in class, but interesting to see how they take place. I called the job site visit yesterday a meeting, and that was really interesting. So I had a lot of opportunities. Got to work with the Fresno division a little bit and the Bakersfield division. So.
Very nice.
Is
Go
there
ahead.
an improvement you would see for the internship?
One improvement that I would suggest going forward is that the meetings be more based towards the front. I found a really big learning curve in understanding construction and the concept of jobs and projects and how they were organized. And I pieced it together by attending meetings and seeing what Rusty did and seeing what Darren's role was. And I pieced it together by meeting with those people. But that came towards the middle of my internship. And so I think if I were to redo it, I would have pushed those closer to the front so that as I was doing my tasks and my projects later on, I had a better understanding of what I was doing and why I was doing it.
Good, thank you.
Well said. Final question for Victoria, anyone?
I just had a comment. I really liked how you tied the community together with your experience in the floats and Tim Lawman in the company. That was just a nice touch.
Thank you. He took us out to lunch for one of our intern lunches, and I was saying, yeah, I never thought I would be working here, but my first experience was working on my float project and having AC come out. He goes, that was my project.
Very
Thank you so much.
cool.
Thank you all.
Congratulations.
I'm just gonna inform for our Facebook, we're gonna be switching out for Sandra Peters' presentation. Sand?
Is it okay if I get a bottle of water? My throat is dry. Thank you, Scott.
I've got extras right there, Scott.
That's a Lien principle.
Thank you.
Does the same thing to me, Sandy. It does the same thing to me.
I'm glad I'm not in it alone.
It won't go until you hold it down and then it keeps going.
Yeah. Well, why isn't it turned on now? Okay. Sorry, guys, for the
That's okay. So what you're experiencing right now is very typical. And just to let our audience know, we tested each one of these presentations earlier today and worked them flawlessly. But when it's go time, stuff happens. So yeah, you just press forward. We've all been there.
Every demo I've ever done, everything breaks. Every time. I don't, oh, there it goes.
Here we go.
All right. Hello, how's everybody doing?
Perfect.
My name is Sandra Peters, and I'm a recent graduate from Cal State University Bakersfield with a degree in electrical engineering. So I want to start off my presentation with a company analysis. Nope, that's not what I want to start out with. No. Sorry, guys. I ran through it this morning and it ran
It's
seamlessly.
okay, they're used to me presenting. This is still going smoother than mine.
It's just, I don't know why it's not going the right orientation.
Because you need it to.
So while you're putting that together, Sandy, to share with this team, Sandy has given this presentation, this will be the 5th time.
And it ran a lot smoother 4 times. This is actually the first time that has happened. Okay, so I want to start all over again. So my name is Sandra Peters. I'm a recent graduate with an electrical engineering degree. Don't judge me based on this. This is not my best. Okay, so I want to give a brief overview of how I'm going to conduct my presentation. I'm going to do a brief company analysis, and then I'm going to go into my experience here at AC Electric Company, and then I'm going to finish with my Lien Proposal idea. So I want to begin with something that was very important something that's very important here at AC, especially here at CS, and that's the 8 deadly sins of waste. Right off the bat, when I started here, I had to memorize the 8 deadly sins of waste. Not because I wanted to, because I was going to present them at the next meeting when I facilitated, and I was nervous. So I focused all my time trying to memorize these because I knew it was gonna come up the first time I facilitated at the morning meetings. So it wasn't until I memorized these 8 deadly sins that I really realized the impact that they have at AC Electric Company and specifically here at CS where I spent all my time. I want to talk now about 2-second lane. This is another important facet here at AC. I realized this was extremely important when I finished my interview and Scott gave me this book to read. I spent the first week before I even found out I had the internship reading this book. It taught me a lot about waste, and right off the bat I started trying to figure out how to lean out processes that I did. Not because I knew I was going to have the internship, because I realized how much time wasted I spent on remedial things that I don't need to be wasting time on. I later found out I had the internship, and we started reading it again in our book club, and I think I dove in deeper into what the book meant and really the principles that stick out of this book. So the next topic that I'm going to talk about is our morning meeting. Every morning here at CS, we have a morning meeting. I really enjoy our morning meetings. It's really cohesive. Everybody's here. It's a really team-building meeting. And specifically, I want to point at our board. I got very familiar with this board this summer. I was really kind of confused when Scott first gave me a tour and he kind of told me the motions, but I really got to see it as a living board once I actually started here. My favorite part of this board is actually bugs. I don't like real bugs, but I really like the bugs in this board. So the one thing I like about AC, specifically here at CS, is that if you're at work and you really don't like something about it or something bothers you, they allow you to write it on a sticky note, stick it up here, and we actually get to talk about it. Why does it bother you, and how can we fix it? And I think that leads to a better morale in our group, because you're not sitting there grumbling like, oh, this software is awful, like it's taking forever to load, like why is it not loading, and let's try to fix it. So I really, that was one of my favorite things about doing the morning meetings, is actually getting in touch with that board and getting my input of how I felt about bugs as well as improvements, not just bugs. I felt like I was really part of the team because I was able to give my input on improvements, and a lot of them were really implemented. I didn't think they would take it seriously, but a lot of them, Scott was like, yeah, let's get this, or hey, let's do that. So I really felt like my voice was being heard, especially with the improvement board. I now want to talk about my experience at AC. And I really thought long and hard about this, and I really wanted to showcase what AC Electric means to me, not just my experience. I want to talk first about the intern lunches. I really enjoyed our intern lunches. I really enjoyed our lunch with Rusty. It was one of my favorites. I don't know if Rusty felt this, but like the way he would talk about his past experiences, I really saw him like analogies and stories. Like everything he said, he would just say something and you're like, wow, how can I implement that in my life? And I really, I almost cried at the end of it, because I was like, wow, like he'd say something about like how he would control his temperament and how he learned later, and that's something I struggle with, and I'm like, man, he's speaking to me right here, because I struggle with my temperament and I shouldn't take a situation and deal with it that way. So he probably told us about 5 or 6 stories, and every one I was so engaged, and I feel like I learned a lot. I don't know if I'm a lot like Rusty, because a lot of the lessons he's learned, I'm like, okay, I think I have a similar personality to him, because I've learned that the hard way too, where I've learned it differently. So I really appreciate that. He gave us a lot of life lessons, dealing with temperament, dealing with control, being picked on, and how he grew from that and came to be a different person. So it really touched me. Another person that I really enjoyed going to lunch with, not that I didn't enjoy going to lunch with everybody, but I did. But Jason was another one that I really enjoyed. Maybe because he's in our building and I'm impartial, but Jason also went to Cal State, and I kind of stalked him on LinkedIn, and I really wanted to know, I saw he had went for mathematics, and that's in the same building that I was in for my major, and I really wanted to know, why was he doing mathematics, and how did he get to AC from where he came from? And I think talking to him, it really relayed a lot of wisdom too, of how the path that you think you're gonna take isn't always the path you know or where you're gonna end up. And it was really insightful. Another experience that I really enjoyed at AC was definitely getting to know the interns. I think when we all started, everybody was a little standoffish, at least I was. I didn't know what to expect. And I really come to like and form friendships with other interns, especially Victoria, not just Victoria, but like, I feel like I see Victoria and I see a lot of who she is as me when I was her age. And even when we took our personality index, I saw they were almost like identical. And I was like, wow, like just a lot of things, like just her hunger and her competitive, and like I'm like, wow, like I was like that at an age, like, so I don't know, I really have like a heart to heart with her. I feel like kind of connected like that. So I also want to talk about what I've learned here at AC, and this is part of my experience. And I put this graphic on my slideshow because I want to go into everything that I've learned here at AC. I've kind of seen it in a filter of refinement. That's kind of how I like to view my life, and AC is no exception. Everything that I'm doing here is refining my life and continuing my growth as a person and in my career. So the first aspect of what I've learned was definitely experiencing administration. I did this my first few weeks and it continued throughout my internship. I learned a lot about pool planning. I learned how to file. I learned how to use the plotter. I learned how to scan plans into the plotter. I did a lot of printing for the designers as well. I really thought these were mundane tasks. If I'm going to be honest, at first I was very like narrow-minded, and I'm like, I had the confidence of a young engineer saying like, I finished my engineering degree. Why am I doing this? And I never like outwardly said it, but I feel like you could probably feel it when I was here. And it wasn't a good perspective to have, because now that I've finished and gone this far, I really see how important it is. Because I don't want to be an engineer and not know how to use the plotter. Like, I'm gonna work somewhere and I'm gonna have to get that intern to use it because I'm not gonna know how to use it. And it's very important. I'm at a point now where I'm very comfortable with the plotter. Sometimes we'll get some weird dimensions and Daniel or Cristal will have to help me out. But I'm very comfortable with the plotter to where if somebody tells me, plot this, these dimensions and color, I can navigate my way around it, and I feel very comfortable. And I'm very, very thankful for these office tools that were shown to me that I didn't get the experience to use in school. And I didn't realize how important they were until now. So a second part of my internship was definitely doing design. I worked a lot with the designers, and we kind of have like a little camaraderie within us. We all kind of joke around, and I love it. I love all my fellow designers in the group, and I've definitely grown a lot in my AutoCAD skills. Not so much, yes, because I've worked hard, but I've had really good mentors in this part of my growth. This right here is actually a steel beam clamp, and it's not finished, but I felt really in awe when I finished, when I did that part. It's actually three-dimensional AutoCAD modeling, and I had never touched that prior to being here at AC. I feel like my skills have grown immensely since being here. Somebody's able to tell me something and I can fully understand, oh, he's doing a site plan and this is what he wants. He needs it scaled. He wants me to draw, a single line diagram. He'll go and check my plans and he told me what red lines are and how you interpret a drawing, and it was so incredibly, I didn't think I would ever get there when it was day one. I knew what AutoCAD was. It was a course I took, but I did not realize how incredibly useful and what all the wonderful things you could do with it. So my biggest takeaway for me, this is actually a photo of a plaque on a transformer that I went out to the shop, and Greg showed me around, and he allowed me to take a picture of it. When I was in school, I did a lot of mathematical equations on transformers, but I had never seen one. And I think seeing one was it's really like, somebody might look at it and be like, that's just a bunch of wires, but to me, it was very awe-inspiring. I never physically got to see that. You just see, you literally, when you draw it, you just see, I'll show you. Like, it looks like that. and you know, we calculate like voltage going in and stepping up and stepping down, but just seeing it, I mean, to somebody it might not be much, but to me it was incredible, because that was my favorite course in college. My only recommendation for the program would be to have maybe a little sit-down one-on-one with each intern and kind of do, not so much an interview, but just kind of say like, this is where you're, like kind of ask them like, where are you at in life, and kind of tailor it a little bit to what the person's needs or desires to learn from the internship itself. So the final part of my presentation, I'll be talking about my Lien Proposal idea. I will first talk about how 2-second lien transitions into what our Lien Proposal is about. I'll go into the problem and how I found a solution. So 2-second lien talks about standards. Standardizing everything. That way you know where everything is at one point or how to do a certain process. And to me this was incredibly important. This leads to the second point, that it helps simplify. When you have something standardized, you know where you're at in each point of the process and you can simplify it if you can. If you can't, at least you know where you're at and it's outlined for you. Which leads into my last point, that it eliminates any sort of waste. So my problem was actually with the bid calendar process. About 2 weeks into our internship, we went to an estimator meeting, and Dan Irvin came out with this process map, and it was humongous. It's probably a little bit shy of what the size of that board is. I was kind of shaken up. I was like, that's huge. I don't even know how to interpret that thing, much less how they go through this process, you know, incredibly intricate process of creating a bid. But what I will be focusing on for my project is actually right here on the left side of the process map, and it's the setup. I wasn't easy to come to this conclusion that knew I wanted to focus on this part. It was kind of a process. I first met with Emily, and she kind of outlined software that she was looking at for the whole company, and also that might assimilate into what the estimators might use. But it was I still had a lot of questions. I was able to sit down with Tom for a period of time, and I really thought they needed to simplify the estimating process. And he was like, no, we don't need to estimate the process. What we do need help with is the initial bid setup. And then I was more intrigued. I got more involved with the process map and what the different processes were. And I actually got to meet with Jason, and he showed me that he concurred as well, that they needed to simplify the bid setup. I was fortunate enough to be able to sit with Jason, and he actually went through this whole process with me. He showed me right from the beginning how you get a bid request number all the way through inputting into the calendar. It was rather lengthy. It took about an hour and a half, which might not sound like a lot, but if you have a bid that's 4 days out, you wish you had more time. Hopefully it'd be 2 weeks, but let's say you have 4 days. You get it Monday and you need it done by Thursday or Friday. Every hour counts, especially with a process like this that I thought was very tedious. I felt like this is going to be where I focus my time on. So the current templates in use for this process are going to be the bid number request. The division manager would go through and fill this out with all the information that they will be receiving, you know, from the client, and manually inputting everything. They'll next go into the bid log. If you notice some of the tabs on top, or the titles of each column, it's very similar to the bid request number, because they're essentially taking that information from the bid request number and putting it into the bid log, again, manually. It does not transfer. The last part is the bid calendar. There's some very similar categories again, and once again, they're going through manually and inputting all the similar information once again. I'm oversimplifying this process, but these are the 3 main templates that they use. So I knew right away after I sat with Jason, this is where I'm focusing on, and I want to lean out the bid calendar process. This is just a very simple flow chart of the 4 processes I want to get and put into one. So my first solution deals with Vba Scripting. Essentially, Vba Scripting is a type of programming language for Excel and other Microsoft Office suites. The same way that you take your time card and you're able to get a drop-down list and put your time in, that is the same coding that allows you to do that. The way you're allowed to do that is called a macro. A macro is essentially a function within Excel that somebody coded to be able to do that process. You can see this a lot, especially if you have a workbook and you have multiple sheets at the bottom. Those macros can work within the multiple sheets within the workbook. It's another set of code, and it's coded in a way to where that information is translated in the different sheets. So the problem we have is that these different templates live in 3 different workbooks because they're 3 different files. If we can get the macros to talk within the different sheets at the bottom, we can get them to talk within the different notebooks. So that's where I started fully researching. I had to first learn what Vba Scripting was, what its capabilities were, how it worked, how it functions. And it's pretty amazing. You kind of find your location in Excel, and that's how you would translate to the other sheets within that workbook. I was able to find a little bit of a sample code that could actually get you to talk between the different workbooks in Excel. So it is possible to potentially link up those 3 templates and be able to input into one and it translate to the other 2 and not have to fill it out 3 different times. I'm not a programmer, and I was able to make sense of some of the code. I think if given the time, I could probably do it within a few weeks. But if somebody who is proficient at programming and this language, I could presume they could knock it out even better than I could. My second solution was getting a sole proprietary software, and that was this software that I found called Building Connected. So I didn't just come up with this software. I actually, well, I'll get to that later. I didn't actually, go and just Google it and find it. I Googled first bid calendar or I Googled bid software, and a lot of it was wanting to change what they actually use to estimate, and that's not what they needed. They don't need different tools to estimate. They just need a very specific type of software to work with those templates and translate it into what they need to do for the calendar. So I refined my search, and I wanted to look for any kind of software. It needed to be construction related that would help with that process. Consequently, I came in contact with Building Connected. I created an account and I started playing with it. I didn't realize that we already had it. I actually, when I came to work and I logged in, because I've been playing with it at home, I saw that it said Scott, and it didn't really click in at first that it was Scott Blankenship. So when I saw that Scott had it, I went to go talk to him, and I'm like, "Oh, did you have an account there?" He's like, "Yeah, we use it for a little bit here and there." I even asked Jason. Jason says, "Yeah, we use it here and there," but I don't think they really fully realize the capabilities that this software has. So if you see up in the tab where it says calendar, you're actually able to input these different bids and it'll update that calendar. They have an app. You're able to get real-time responses. This doesn't lean out the process completely because you still need a bid request number, but you do get to simplify 2 of those other templates. After you get your bid request number, you're able to actually input it into their bid board, which is very similar to our bid log, and it'll automatically update it to their calendar. You can download the app, and it'll be able to tell you the process of your bid updated because it hooks up to Outlook. So you can get all those notifications. Another cool thing about it is it sends you analytics of bids that have bids that you've won and how many hits we're getting, and it's a pretty awesome tool that I don't think has fully been explored. We already have it. We just need to realize the full potential of this software. So with that, I want to conclude my presentation. I want to thank everybody involved in the internship program. I really had a good time. I've made a lot of friends that I could see myself, sorry, I'm gonna cry. A lot of friends that I could see myself being friends with for a really long time. And I appreciate you guys' time.
Very good.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I got so excited I didn't want to answer your question. Sorry.
All right, questions for Sandy?
I've got a question, because I have no idea how you did that off your phone. I'm
So,
serious.
Same thing.
Yeah.
so they have the Apple TV. I don't work for Apple. They're not sponsoring me. But I actually just recently, probably my senior year of college, I transitioned into getting the whole Apple ecosystem. I got a MacBook Pro, I invested in one, I already had an iPhone, and their ecosystem, any product you have works really seamlessly, and the Apple TV, you're able to mirror whatever is on your screen onto the monitor.
So it's whatever's on your mind, it goes up on the
No,
screen?
not that. Not that. So yeah, yes,
I have a question for you. So you're double E.
yes.
How did it prepare you for what you saw here?
I think a lot of the terminology, I kind of was able to catch on pretty quickly because I've already been pre-exposed to that at school. Things like transformers, obviously wire. We don't really talk about conduit too much in school, but I worked at Home Depot, so I already knew what conduit was. But definitely the terminology was able, so projects they were already working on, I already had that background and I was able to catch on.
Follow-up question.
Yes.
Do you want to be a designer or do you want to be a project manager?
I know I want to become a professional engineer and get my license.
Sure.
I'm currently trying to decide on what I want my master's to be in. I knew when I was in school I really wanted to do electric power and continue down the electrical engineering path and get my master's in that. As of recently, I've really been looking into MBA programs because I'm looking more on the project management side that I hadn't really looked at before. I'm 30 years on the road. I'm kind of looking at retiring too and getting into law school and going into school for, law for engineers. So, but that's like a retirement plan.
You're going to work in retirement?
Yes.
Yeah.
Wow.
As an attorney.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yes, pool planning. Tell us, what did you learn as the reason or the greatest benefit out of pool planning?
I think pool plan definitely helps you organize specifically, like if you have a specific task that you need to get done, and how many men you need to put on that task, and the hours allocated for that specific task. So it helps directly with accounting, because you're seeing where the money goes within the process.
Great.
Yes.
What were your takeaways from your trip out to the Walmart project yesterday?
I was actually fortunate enough to have two trips to Walmart. The first one was with Andrew Cross, and we actually did the Trimble and scanned everything. I really enjoyed that because I got to see hands-on what Andrew did and how the plans that the designers make directly correlate to the fields. The second trip at Walmart, I really enjoyed with the interns. Jeff did an incredible job of explaining. I think for me, I know accounting exists, but I don't see like the full picture of it, because it's not my field, but I think I was able to fully understand, because he talks so much about money, how it correlates with accounting and how important it is to that field. And it was really eye-opening to kind of ask him questions. He showed us a plan he had on the wall, and he was showing us, if somebody wanted to design this as overhead conduit, how expensive it would be as opposed to underground, and the manpower would take, how many hours more it would take to actually do the overhead conduit.
Great.
Yes.
What was your biggest takeaway interning here at Construction Services?
My biggest takeaway, let me think, I had so many. I think I really enjoy, I know PCS is its own thing, and then you have the plan detailers, and then you have design. And I think I liked seeing how everything works cohesively and how everything is a part of the process. I really like how closely the plan detailers work with the designers and the mutual respect that you guys carry with each other and how they communicate and how you guys are a team. I think I really enjoyed that and watching how that works out.
Is there anything that you see or would like to see, like a change or something different that we could maybe do better?
One of the things that I hope, like maybe for the future, probably have like your design, like you have your CAD technicians, and maybe have like electrical designers. I think that would alleviate some of, like, I think that would help out a lot with the workload of the detailers and be an asset to that team. I think researching a lot what an electrical designer is as opposed to a draftsman, as opposed to a plan detailer, I think really putting in a designer would really help with that.
If you were to be able to go back to your professors in the program at CSUB, what would you suggest to them to change or modify in the current engineering program?
I wish they had, like, I think it wouldn't have been that hard for him to open up. My favorite class was power systems. I consequently had 2 classes with that professor, and he was my favorite professor. I really thought I wanted to go into the first class I had with him, which was signals and systems. And it's just that he was a good professor, because when I took power systems and it was with his teaching style, I realized that's my passion. I wish he had, he did a lot of drawings and he's a phenomenal professor, but I wish he had just pulled up like photos so we know what we're working on.
Final question for Sandy, anyone?
Did you learn how much Building Connect costs?
I didn't
It's
actually.
based off revenue.
I didn't. I had the guy keep calling me and wanted to talk and sell me software, and he's still calling me and emailing me, so I'm kind of like.
Good luck.
No, Scott, that's.
Yeah.
Thanks, not calling me.
So I didn't get a chance, and I don't know if I would be overstepping any bounds, like talking to him and asking him. They don't have it listed on their website.
Smart.
Yeah.
I do that on purpose.
Yeah. They want to have a demo, and they keep calling you.
If I can make a comment on that, Great Core uses Building Connected. It has been one of the most efficient things for us to use in estimating. So I don't know if we contacted you through that or not.
I believe so.
But our chief estimator was just blown away. And it wasn't very expensive. Whoever asked that question, it wasn't very expensive at all.
It looks very useful. Watching the videos on it, I'm like, this is what to me, that was like, this is what they need.
Well done.
Excellent forward thinking to get the member of the audience to support your report. Calls him. That's smart.
All right, that's really good. So our next one's gonna be Nico Lundy.
Do you know what input it is?
Yes. So you want to go to 2.
2?
Input 2. I believe input is farther down on the remote.
Got it.
There you go. And you gotta just be patient.
Press.
I'm back to you.
Excellent. Then exit out of her presentation. You good to go there?
Yeah,
All right.
hopefully. I'll let you know if I.
So as Nico's pulling this up, Victoria, what did you use to create your presentation?
Google Slides.
And what did you use, Sandy?
A Prezi?
And what did you use, Nico?
I use Canva.
Did anybody hear PowerPoint in those answers?
Nope.
Well, if you can, what?
Canva. Nicely done.
We didn't teach you guys anything.
I put the buggy whips away too. Yeah.
Okay. Before I introduce myself, I have a little icebreaker. Why are electricians always up to date? Anybody?
Why?
Because they are current specialists. All right. Yeah. All right. Hello, everyone. My name's Nico Lundy, and I was born and raised in Bakersfield, California. I'm a sophomore at the University of Colorado Boulder, and I got into the business school this last year, and I don't know what my emphasis is going to be yet. I had the honor of being an intern here at AC Electric Company, and I thank you for that. Today I'll be giving you a short presentation about my experience and what I learned here at AC Electric. AC Electric Company was founded in 1945. For the past 75 years, AC Electric has grown. It has grown into one of the top. For 75 years, AC Electric has grown into one of the top electrical companies in California. From what I understand, AC Electric Company is moving from a $70 million company to a $100+ million company. AC Electric's vision is to lead electrical construction, industrial automation, service, and safety in all the markets that they serve. To fulfill this vision, AC Electric has 5 mission statements. I apologize for all the ums. The one mission statement that stands out to me most and that I see most at AC Electric is AC Electric will attract and attain the best and brightest individuals by empowering people to perform to the best of their abilities, embracing open communication, encouraging ongoing education, and respecting the balance between work and family. So where have I seen this? Attract the best and the brightest. Where's Cindy? Oh, right there. Best and the brightest, and then put them in the right position where they're gonna do the best here at AC Electric. And I've seen it in Fresno when I go down with Jennifer in Fresno. We had an interview with Jasmine Griffith, who was going to be a material and equipment coordinator, or applied for that position. And after interviewing and discussing the interview with Jennifer, she told me, you know what, I think she'd be better at a project coordinator. I think she would fit well right there. So I was like, wow. So that's where I see that. The next part is embracing open communication. Fresno is another example. When I've gone down with Jennifer and seen the group down there, I've seen how she's worked with them to encourage communication and so they can learn from each other and so they don't make the same mistakes as the person right next to them. And I've seen her try to bring that group together and actually all of AC Electric from all the divisions trying to get them on the same page. I've seen that quite a bit. Encouraging ongoing education. Meetings I attend with Darren, I've attended a few, and Jennifer. After each meeting, they ask me, "Hey, what'd you learn from that? What'd you get out of that? What'd you think of the meeting?" I gotta basically say what the whole meeting was about, and it just further educates me about what the meeting was about, and just gives me a chance to reflect of what I learned from the meetings. So further educating. Finally, respecting a balance between work and family. We had an intern lunch with Rusty, as you guys know, and this lunch was important to all of us. And what I learned from it was balancing work and family. Rusty told us that if you don't have your family life intact and going well, then when you get to work the next day, you're going to be a mess. You're not going to get your stuff done, and that really hit home for me. It was important to get your stuff done, or he actually said when it's time to stop, it's time to stop, and you got to go home and be with your family, and that really hit home for me. So those are some of the things that I have seen and learned here at AC Electric. My intern experience, as you heard, I worked with Jennifer this summer over at headquarters, and I had the chance to go to Visalia and Fresno and see all those people as well. And she gave me a lot of responsibilities. Social media was one of my responsibilities. The first day I learned how to use Canva, which is actually what I'm presenting on right now. Learned how to use it, had no idea even what it was. It's basically a tool that you can use to create social media posts. You can put images and words and different types of stuff on it, like arrows and all types of stuff. And that was really cool. And then Hootsuite was also actually my favorite thing I learned, because Hootsuite is something you can create a post, and then you go on Hootsuite and you put the post in there, and then you can select, I want to post this on my Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn, and then I want to post it on Saturday at 7 o'clock, and then they'll all post at Saturday at 7 o'clock, and you can do it a week in advance, a month in advance. You can just do it in advance, which is really cool, because you can just say, okay, I'm done with that, and on to the next. So that was awesome. So the first week I was coming up with ideas for social media posts. I came up with National Intern Day and National Book Lovers Day. I didn't come up with them, but I found them on the internet. So I was like, we could do that, because I'm trying to come up with posts, but whatnot. But National Intern Day was actually really cool, because I got to develop, coordinate, and execute. That day, we all had access to the Facebook and I don't know if we had access to the Facebook and Instagram accounts, and they have a feature where it's almost like the live feature, but it's a story feature where you can post like, hey, I'm doing this, and all your friends see it. So it's basically a story, and we posted throughout the day what we were doing at work, and it was just really cool. I think we each posted like 3 posts, and that was really cool. I got to come up with that and execute that, so that was awesome. Other posts I've done, Blue Blazer winner. I'm wearing one right now, but I didn't win this. This is my dad's. New employees, I got to make those posts. So when we hired new employees like Jasmine Griffith, and quote of the month. So that was awesome. I always got to come up with cool quotes. You can see them around here. Let's see what else. I also got the chance to teach Jennifer a little bit about Snapchat, which was awesome. I even created a Snapchat account for AC Electric, so taught her how to use it and like what she could do with it, like make filters and for colleges and whatnot. So that was cool. Another responsibility I had was process maps, and I think it was the second week. Darren, the boss, he was asking me to come to a meeting with him, and I was like, oh gosh, this is gonna be big. And anyways, it actually turned out to be one of my favorite meetings, because most of the meetings that I went to before that, I sat in on the meetings, I took notes, and then I was a sponge. And then after the meetings, like I said, we went over it, but I didn't say much during the meetings. This meeting was really cool, because they basically brought me into the meeting. They said, hey, so with process maps, you make Post-it notes when you're developing them, and they said, hey, can you document what we're saying on the Post-it notes, and then put them up on the board? So that was awesome. I got to actually be involved with what was going on in the meeting. And also it was cool to see, like, Post-it notes are an awesome way to do it, because you can throw them away, you can make a new one, you can move them around on the board, and it was really cool to learn about that. Anyways, that was awesome. And then later, after the meeting ended, they were like, hey Nico, will you make the process map in Lucid chart? And oh shoot, I haven't even been going through my slides. Whatever's your mission and my experience. Sorry, social media, right about this. Okay, so here's Scott showing me.
You got a great presentation.
Sorry. So this is actually the first one I think we created right here, and anyways, this is Lucid Chart, and so basically I went in on Lucid Chart, and they taught me how to use Lucid Chart, and it's just a flow chart, super well organized. As you can see, they're all straight line and looks really good, and basically learned how to do that, and I started making the process maps for this meeting. I think it was the Panama purchasing process, right? Yeah, so that was awesome. Another thing I learned from these meetings I attended was that it's important to get the process laid out before you begin. Because I know, or I thought I heard them talk about how like, oh, we're gonna just, we're gonna do it how we've been doing it. We're gonna, once the problems, hiccups come up, we'll just deal with them. And I heard like, oh, that sets us back a few weeks. And I also heard like, it's important to, so basically what I learned is important to lay it all out and get it so it's running smooth, so they don't have to, delay the project for a week or, so that was something I really got out of that. Another responsibility I had this summer was Net Promoter Score. So this was really cool. I got to work on the Net Promoter Score project with Jennifer and Michelle. She was at lunch today. Anyways, basically Net Promoter Score is Michelle calls up after each meeting, each person at the meeting, and says, hey, what would you rate this meeting on a scale of 1 to 10? And then she gets that score. And anyways, that's the Net Promoter Score. Basically, you combine those scores and get one score for the meeting. And anyways, I got to work on that with them. I got to attend weekly meetings about the Net Promoter Score and learn from them what it means and why it's important. So that was really cool. I also created a spreadsheet for it, and the spreadsheet was basically me summarizing, like I said, calculating in the spreadsheet what the Net Promoter Score is, and basically just summarizing summarizing each Net Promoter Score, and I had a summary page of each meeting, and like it would have like a promoter score of 20% to 100% or 0% to 100%, and green and red. I did some cool stuff on it, but that was awesome. And then lastly, I was in charge of doing the intern events like barbecues, bowling, lunches. I coordinated those, got those planned, emailed all of you guys about them probably several times. But that was awesome. Yeah, thank you guys for taking such lunch. That was awesome. Yeah, so something I learned this summer, on the way to Visalia with Darren, something it really hit home for me, and he was talking about how the brain is like a muscle. And in muscle, I was thinking muscles because I work out, I was into that, so I was like, muscle, okay, let's listen, Anyways, he told me, so when you're working out, right, I don't know, you guys all probably work out, when you're working out, you're pushing yourself, and you're pushing your muscles so much that it's tearing the tissue, and then later on you recover the next few days, and it gets stronger and builds, and gets bigger and stronger. And he said that's just how your brain is. The more you are in uncomfortable situation, learning, like right now, like for me, yeah, like right now I'm learning the most, but it's also exercising my brain and getting it stronger, and that really I found that really cool. Another thing I learned that ties into that is Jennifer taught me the learning zone, which is really cool. Learning zone has 3 circles. So this circle right here is the comfort zone, and this is the zone that you're in when you're getting your popcorn and you're sitting down on the couch and you're just relaxing and you're watching TV or not doing anything much. This zone is the uncomfortable zone. This is the zone that you're learning the most in. This is the zone I'm in right now. This is the zone that basically you're learning the most and you're uncomfortable. And you're just basically when you're uncomfortable and you're doing something that you don't know, you're uncomfortable, you don't know it, so it's all new, and it helps you learn. And this is the zone that I learned you want to stay in. You don't want to be stuck in this zone, and you definitely don't want to be stuck in this zone. This zone right here is the panic zone, and that zone's like when you're heating up a pot of water to make pasta or something. You touch the pot, you learn, oh shoot, that's really hot. Like don't touch that ever again. So that's the zone you learn quickly and you learn right away. Pot's hot, you don't touch it. So that was really cool to learn, and just how this is the zone that you're learning the most in, and she said this is the zone I'm going to keep you in all summer. So and she did, and that was awesome. One of the biggest takeaways I had was Lien. Lien was awesome. I think it was after our first read, I started implementing it into my life. For example, every night I take a shower and then I brush my teeth and then I go to bed. And so that's just something I do every night. And so I was in the shower right after I was reading about Lien, and I was in the shower and I was like, you know what? Like, I'm gonna brush my teeth right after this. Why don't I just put my toothbrush in the shower and I'll just brush them right in the shower, and then I'll get out and I'll just dry off. And it does save you a lot of time if you think about it. Add it up to the days of the year. It was really cool. So I started implementing that into my life, and that really hit home. Let's see here. Oh, not there yet. Recommendations I have for the intern. I would say that all of us interns work on a group project. I think that would be really cool to get us all connected and, bring us together and learn from one another. And I think that would be awesome. I don't know if you guys think the same, but just a group project that we're all working on. Finally, let's see, my bug over there, just like the bugs over there, something that I wanted to lean out and make more efficient. So basically, at the beginning of my internship, I started making offer packets, and so each one of these documents, sorry for touching the screen, but each one of these documents are in the offer packets, and they come, oh, here we go. They come like this, with a clip on it, and this is all those documents and whatnot, and papers, just basically papers. And so what I had to do was, which was quite easy, but when I was doing it, I was like, there's gotta be an easier way to do this. But anyways, I was printing this one, and there's instructions for each of these. Like, one of them's black and white, one of them's stapled, one of them's double-sided, one of them's, single-sided, all that stuff. So what I was thinking is, instead of having this, 13 PDF that you have to print individually, and basically, so I would print it, I would grab it, I'd put it on the table, and then I would print that one, and basically, I printed them separately. And it took a lot of time, as you can see. So I had to go into each file. And I think to make this process a lot quicker is to put each and every one of those PDFs into one. And so some of them, like the ones that need to be double-sided and single-sided, I think we should actually just do double-sided on all of them, and then the ones that need to be single-sided, we just put a blank page in after them, so then it's just double, so then it looks like it's single-sided, you know what I'm saying? Anyways, and then I think we should put it in a booklet like this, with bindings like this, all together, just so it's not like with a clip and, just a bunch of different papers, stapled, some's not stapled, and I think it would look nicer, and it wouldn't take as long. So that's my Lien process. And I just want to thank AC Electric Company for a great experience here at AC Electric.
Who did this book?
That was me.
Oh. Yeah. 2 minutes of that. That's
What did it take to pull that project together, the book?
It took basically all summer, just getting all the pictures and just figuring out what I was going to do. Juliana Morton, I think she really helped me out because she did the one last year, and so hers was really good. So I kept asking her about that because she's my friend, so that was cool.
Did you pull plan that project?
Yeah, we did pull plan that project. We started, okay, we need to have it done by this time, and then we're like, how are you going to get it done? Basically just put each page into a week. I need to get these pages done this week, this done this week, and we did. That was awesome. Any questions?
You learned a little bit about PI and LI.
Yes.
So you probably learned about slow learners and steady learners and fast learners.
Yes.
Where would you describe when you taught Jennifer what she had to learn, where would you describe her?
When I was teaching her about Snapchat, well,
Quick learner?
she actually, quick learner. She was like, okay, got it. Like, she was always like, got it. But I was like, well, but then you got to do this, and yeah, she was quick to jump in and say, I know what you're doing, and then I had to say, Jennifer, but then you got to do this. There's a zone you have to put the Snapchat in. But yeah, we actually built a really good relationship this summer. It was awesome. Really got comfortable with her.
Tell the team about a drive home we had where you and I had worked with Dave Brown, our business consultant. I'll let you continue.
You.
Oh, from Fresno, and I'll leave it there.
And what do you mean? What? I met Dave Brown 5.
So you and I were driving home from Fresno, and Darren had called.
Oh, I forgot to say that in my presentation.
That's okay, go ahead.
Yeah, so Darren had called after, I think, we had a meeting with, like, guy down there, Mike, I think it was. We had a meeting with him, and we had interview. Yeah, we just had a big day, a lot of meetings and whatnot, and Darren called Jennifer up, and, they're talking for a little bit. And it's 6 o'clock at night, and I woke up at 4, which that's a big day for me. I get a lot of sleep. So, anyways, it was 6 o'clock. We're driving home, and I'm in the passenger seat. I'm about ready to fall asleep, and they're just starting to talk, and Darren's like, or Jennifer's just starting to talk about the day, and Darren's like, wait, no, like I want to hear Nico explain the whole day and like what he thought of the whole day, and I was looking at her like, really? And she, oh man, it was funny because I was like, oh gosh, I was panicking like I am right now. But yeah, that was really cool. It was cool, I guess. It wasn't the coolest thing ever. But yeah, that was
You expected them comfortable or the red hot?
Yeah.
You went to panic mode.
Yeah, so that was a neat experience. He asked me to just explain what I learned that day and what we did all day and how the interview went. And yeah, that was really cool. Yeah, it helped me reflect on what I learned.
This question kind of goes almost to all three of you. As your friends who've had internships, how does this experience compare to what you're hearing from other people doing an intern?
My friends haven't really started internships yet, because we just second year college, but they're just doing jobs basically. I don't really know. Compared to my brothers, his sophomore year, he had to do a presentation just like this. Talked to him last night about it. He just said, just don't worry about it too much. Just act like you're talking to me. He said, just act like you're talking to me. So that's what I've been trying to do this whole time. But yeah, I don't know about you guys.
Going to school in New York, a lot of my friends stay back for the summer and intern there. And from what I understand, it's very timelined. And it's this is what the interns always do the first week, this is what the interns always do the second week. And so some of them have expertise in some of the goals by the time week 4 comes around, or week 6 they're completely clueless, but week 7's here and they're moving on. And AC was unique in the sense that when I was lost, I got to talk to Julie and say, I didn't understand this, can we do this more? Can this be more of a priority in my next 2-week plan? Or, I really understood this, I got it, I'm good, let's move on, I want to try something new. And there was open communication there, but also even the ability to communicate and have her listen to me and go off of that was unique in comparison to what my friends have done.
I don't haven't really had friends that have done an internship. They've kind of just graduated and gone on to the workforce. But I had an internship a couple years ago. It was a startup, and it was a great experience. I was still in contact with everybody there. But I can definitely see the difference between a startup and a company that's already established. It's a different dynamic, different learning curve for both, and I like the structure that you guys have here, but it is a different. You can kind of see, you don't really know what you're doing in a startup. You kind of have a lot, and there's not really anybody to guide you, versus here, it was a completely different experience.
Should have had you in here 3 years ago, 4 years ago. This was a startup.
Nico, you did some market research this summer. How is what you found, how do you think it's going to help divisions?
I think it's going to help divisions build relationships with different contractors and engineers, and electrical engineers, all those types of people that are working on the schools, that are in charge of the schools. Yeah, so basically what I did was I went out and I did like a 50-mile radius of Bakersfield, 50-mile radius of Fresno, 50-mile radius of Visalia, 50-mile radius of Ontario. And then I looked at all the school projects that have been worked on in the past 10 years. And then I went in and I basically got the information of who was working on them. And you know, I put their email and phone number and all that stuff down just so we can contact them. And then I was working on a summary page for that, but I didn't end up completing it. But anyways, basically we're trying to contact people who are working on these schools so we can, you know, have a good relationship with them. So when they need electrical contractor or whatever, they can call us instead of call whoever else. So
Do you recall the site that you used to reference those names to find that information? The government website you were using?
Yeah, something education, I don't know.
It was DSA.
DSA, okay.
Nice.
Nice job, Nico.
Very well.
Good job.
Nico, how old are you?
I'm 19. Just turned 19 this year.
Yeah. Nicely done. So for our Facebook watchers, thank you very much for watching. This will be available on our YouTube channel, so check it out.